All right, what's up, guys? I'm Will.
I'm Christian.
And this is the Bass Brotherhood. We wanted to get on here and talk to you guys today about Guntersville. A lot of ups and downs, especially with practice and everything that just kind of went into it. Videoing was a little bit of a struggle. And we just wanted to kind of do a little bit more in-depth talk about kind of how it went and give you guys a little more than the video that I put out, because not everything was on it, and it really didn't explain to you guys much how our tournament went. So what do you think, Christian?
Well, I messed up big time day one. I didn't even pull the GoPro out of the storage box. Wasn't even thinking about it, you know. I started the tournament and I had a long run. And I was like, man, I really don't want to put this up for this long run. So I didn't put it up. I made like a 35-minute run and got there. And right off the rip, me and my co-angler both busted 2 fish. And after that, I completely forgot about recording. But day one went well for me. I had, what, 14 pounds?
Yeah, just about.
Just like maybe, I think it was just under 14 pounds, like 13 pounds, 12 ounces, 13 ounces, something like that. I was right in the 14-pound range.
And see, the thing about it was, though, it's like we were down there and we were like so focused on, all right, we need like 5 bites a day. Like this wasn't like, this didn't come off as a tournament like, okay, we're going to go out here and call 20 times and, you know, be able to just work our way through fish. It was a lot more of getting 5 bites a day and then hoping for a couple good calls, or, you know, getting the right 5 bites that day. And, you know, it was just kind of tough to focus on recording a lot of the time, for me at least, because it was just like, you know, I'm worried about catching my next fish and I wasn't worried about the camera, which isn't really good for 2 people starting a new YouTube channel. Yeah. But it's kind of like something that's necessary when, you know, a tournament finishes on the line.
And y'all gotta understand, like, there were, I'd say we had, what, 6 days of practice? And I bet you there was 3 days of that practice where I didn't put a limit of keepers in the boat.
Yeah, there's like, definitely
there was at least 3 days I did not have a limit. I did not have keeper bites. I caught fish, but they were all that 10 to 14.5-inch range. And it was just one of those deals where I was like, I know where I can go to get bites. I have 4 or 5 spots where I can get at least 1 keeper out of each spot. And once I jammed 2 keepers right off the rip, that bite just slowed down. It was not a catch fish all day type of deal. And I know it wasn't for him either.
No, day one, like, it started off great. Like, I rolled about 15 miles down from Goose Pond to Seabold. I rolled down there, put the trolling motor in. 10 minutes later, I had a 3.5 pounder in the boat. My camera froze, missed it. That's when I realized it wasn't recording, and, you know, I tried to fix it. And then it was just like slow touch and go from there. Everything kind of happened out in the middle of my grass flat for me in practice. I was catching them, and it seemed like they were relating a little more to the bank that day, but they weren't running the same size. I mean, my average fish in practice in that area was about a 2.5 to 3 pounder. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when I was catching 2 pounders, just barely 2 pounders, I mean, there was something up, but I really didn't have an area that, like, I had timed out where these fish would be biting in the grass that I could run to. So I just kind of stuck it out there. I hung out there till 1 o'clock, and I had a limit, or so I thought I had a limit. I ended up making a mistake, though, about 1 o'clock. I went over, I talked to Christian for a minute. You know, he had a couple fish. He just got up to Seabold, and I decided, since I had a limit, I was going to go try to make a couple upgrades on a couple areas that I found that I kind of knew were a chance. It could pan out, it could not. And it was kind of just a bad call, but, I mean, Christian knew what happened when I left.
Yeah, listen, he left, and I bet you not even 10 minutes after this man pulls up and jumps up on plane and runs back up the lake, I jam a 3-pounder. My co-angler puts 2 more fish in the boat. He's sitting at 4. I got 2 fish. Within 30 minutes, I had a limit, and I started calling. My co-angler, he only had 4 fish till about, I think I was doing at 4:15 that day, and his last cast, as I'm pulling the trolling motor up, he jams a 3.5 pounder. I was like, man, I really needed that fish, you know, but hey, it is what it is. But yeah, no joke, as soon as he left, those fish turned on like that. It was insane. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
And we saw a lot of that at Guntersville too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just bite windows in that grass. Like, you would go dead for 2 hours and not get even a bite. And it was just like, all of a sudden, like, you'd put 2 or 3 fish in the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I guess I really didn't take that into consideration when I left, and I probably should have. Right before I left, my co-angler caught a short. My co-angler only had the 2 shorts all day, and it was just had me a little worried too that, like, am I going to be able to upgrade? You know, I had a dock that I can run to that I lifted a nice one up real shallow, and I thought, man, if that fish happens to be there, I might be able to make a good upgrade there. I had a couple jetties that I ran up to. You saw in the video, I missed a good one there. I mean, the opportunity was there to upgrade still, but I think I could have upgraded multiple fish in that grass. When I went to weigh in, I thought I had like, I should have had around 12 pounds is what I was figuring with. I mean, I was weighing my fish, and it was close to that 12-pound mark, and I kind of figured, okay, 12 pounds, you know, I can come back from that on day 1. I bagged my fish, went up to weigh in. On my last video, you guys seen that I put the fish that hurt me. That was the fish that ended up going short on MLF's board. When I weighed it on mine, you probably heard it, and you can hear it in the video. I said it was about a 1/16 of an inch past on my board. I feel like I'm pretty good at measuring my fish. So, like, I really wasn't concerned when I took that fish up to weigh in, or else evidently I would have put it on the board and, you know, courtesy checked it. But I really wasn't too concerned with that fish being short. So it caught me at a major surprise whenever it came up short. And that's why I only ended up, I got a pound penalty for that. I got about it was almost 2 pounds. 2-pounder taken out, so you take that 9 pounds, you add those 3 pounds back, and that puts me at about 12 pounds. So I mean, I had what I thought I had. It was just it was a matter of just a bad circumstance, and I just couldn't. I mean, I just knew I was gonna have to have an exceptional bag on day 2, and day 2 didn't go real great for me either.
No, day 2 was rough, man. It was you know, I made the long run again right off the rip, day 2. I actually recorded my whole day 2, but something happened and my card, I guess, got a virus or just crapped the bed, and we don't have any of my footage. But anyway, so I made the long run and got down there, spent, I don't know, 3 hours in this creek, like the last creek on the lake. Spent 3 hours in there, never had a fish. I was like, man, okay. I got to run to this seaboard. I got to at least get a limit. You know what I mean? If I had 18 pounds that day, I was cutting a check. And that's what I needed. So I was like, well, I'll go spend the rest of the day in seaboard.
Meanwhile, I was in Seabold all that day.
Yeah.
And it was a struggle in Seabold. My co-angler was onto a really good jackhammer bite. I wasn't onto that jackhammer bite like that. I mean, I caught a few on it day 1 on the jackhammer, but they were kind of up shallower, and I wasn't really getting that bite anymore. Everything seemed out on the flat. Not only that, we had a lot more company in there.
Oh man, that day too, I'll bet you
there was at least 7 boats in that area I didn't see on day 1.
Yeah, there was probably 7 boats on the inside, and then when you idled out to the outside of the islands, there was probably another 15. I mean, that place, you could probably cast and hit another person's boat.
Oh, yeah.
It was horrible.
Yeah, it was bumper boats in there, and I mean, I don't think there's the amount of fish in there that the guy needed
day 2, no.
to, you know, pull off that day 2 comeback. Anyway, day 2, I ended up weighing 3 fish. I didn't get any of that on recording either. I ended up weighing 3 fish. It took me all day. I combed through. I probably caught 4 short fish that day. And like the fish were just coming up short for me and my co-angler. My co-angler, he had 3 decent fish, but like he was catching the shorts too. And I mean, it just didn't seem anywhere in that whole area that I've caught fish and ran to. We caught our keepers decently early, and then like after that, it was just short fish. And I guess that just came down to like I didn't know how to adapt from it. Then the misfortune happened when my cranking battery died at noon. So yeah, it was just like icing on the cake for me. I mean, I had 3 fish. My co-angler had 3 fish. He had a good day one. My co-angler did, and I was like, you know what? I mean, I know there's fish up towards the ramp. I tried to get a jump from another guy. My battery was not jump starting. I ended up having to hook to my trolling motor battery to fire my engine, and I told him, I was like, look, you got 3 fish, you're set for a check. And I thought, it would have to take a miracle couple fish for me to make a comeback anyway. So I'm going to get him close up to the ramp where I know I can get him in on time. We ran up. I really haven't caught any fish up in that area that I fished, but I knew there was fish in the area just from going around, and I've seen a bunch of other guys there, and then, I had bites there in practice, but I knew it was a timing thing, and I didn't know if I was going to be there at the right time. But in the off chance that I was like, look, let's fish this flat. It's right off the main channel. I think there could be fish here. And we got up there, and I swapped it back over to my trolling motor. We fished for 2 hours, and it wasn't the right timing. I mean, I feel like at certain times of the day there was active fish there, but not when I was there. And it didn't go my way, so that's the kind of stuff that happens. All we can do is learn to be more prepared.
See, and my end of the day went a little different. It was like 1 o'clock. I didn't have a single fish in the boat on day 2. Not one. I caught 1 short off of a dock, and I was like, all right, well, it's 1 o'clock. I'm due back in at 3:30. I'm going to run towards the ramp, try to cabbage some, run up there, catch 3 shorts right off the rip, off of 3 different docks. Short. And I was like, okay, there's more fish up shallow right now. So I tried that dock bite, broke off on a good one. I was like, okay, well, there's fish here. So I got to thinking, and I'm like, well, I got one spot absolutely dirt shallow where I caught a limit of males. And I was like, well, this ain't going to get me a check, but I can at least go get a limit. So I get over there, and 3 casts in, I jam like, I don't know, probably a 2.5 pounder. I was like, okay, well, that's a good male. 3 casts later, jammed like a 3 3/4. I was like, oh man, I figured this out way too late. Because after that second fish, I got 4 more casts, and I had to pull it up and head to the ramp. So if I would have been a later flight and figured that out, I think I could have salvaged the day in the last probably 2.5 hours. But that's just how the draw works sometimes, and you're going to have to live, you're going to have to learn, you're going to have to adapt and come back stronger.
I think honestly with Guntersville, that like medium draw where you had the same amount of time kind of both days, that would have been a clutch draw, because like my first day was short. I feel like, I could have spent, if I would have had a longer first day, I would have probably spent more time in Seabold and actually, you know what I mean? Because I would have had more time to run to my other stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So I feel like that would have, drastically changed my day one. And then, having that long day, the second day, didn't really help me because of my situation with, my battery. But, I think if a guy would have had that draw in the middle, I think it would have definitely made for a little bit easier of a tournament with less pressure, because you just have that much, that half an hour. I mean, like, it doesn't seem...
That's the difference between 10 and 14 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a couple minutes to catch a bass, so that half an hour is just, like, it means a lot. But, I mean, you can only control so much with fishing, and that's one thing, your boat draw you can't control, and it's, it's up to you to choose what you're going to do at that time. So, it's just... you know, there's a lot of things I feel like we could have done differently. I think that we had some other stuff in practice that we kind of like messed around with, but a lot of the time was spent down the southern end of the lake. And at the time, like, I probably should have ran south and tried to get a couple of those fish, because I probably could have helped myself. But with the time spent running, you hate to be not fishing, and it's just kind of like it just comes down to decision making. And, you know, with the amount of time we've spent on Guntersville, we really didn't, I don't feel like we had a good, you know, base for our decision making. I think we were just like stuck on we need the 5 bites a day. We need, you know what I mean? I need to get rid of this little one. And like, we just thought, you know, okay, stick it out where you're at. You found fish, don't leave fish to find fish. Kind of just like, you know, the basics that everybody, you know, is taught when you're fishing. And we tried to just fall back on that. Overall, it should have been a better tournament. I think going into this next tournament at Smith is going to be a lot more of our cup of tea. As far
100%.
as, I mean, we have a lot of time spent. You know, we've been rolling down to like Lake Norman, Lake Wiley, a lot of these clear, deeper lakes for years now, and you know, we've had a lot of, you know, great days on these fisheries, and I feel like Smith kind of, in a way, coincides with those kind of lakes. I feel like just from the research that I've done, that we should be able to do pretty good with those spotted bass, and I think this is kind of a tournament where we can shine and kind of make up some ground.
100%.
All right, guys, you know, Smith Lake is going to be one that you guys aren't going to want to miss. We're definitely going to be down there. We're definitely going to be on them. So make sure you guys stay tuned. Like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Turn your notifications on.